Cultivation plus counterattack plus spirit pet. Lu Chang unexpectedly obtained the third-ranked soul-eating silkworm on the spirit pet list, but was unfortunately taken away by the cultivator. As his consciousness dissipated, a small spirit worm devoured the giver. From then on, Lu Chang embarked on a difficult path of cultivation. However, the same scene that often appeared in his dreams left him confused. Is this dream true or false? Is it reality or a dream? Main characters: Lu Chang, Han Bingyan. Keywords of the novel: mystery. My spirit worm swallows everything without pop-ups. Mystery. My spirit worm swallows everything. Download the complete TXT collection. Mystery. My spirit worm swallows everything. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Tofu Craftsman. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Before dawn, the roosters in the chicken coop were already crowing, and people were still sleeping soundly. However, the stone mill in a tofu house in Liujia village at the foot of Niutou mountain had already turned. With the light rotation of the stone mill, the white-soaked soybeans mixed with sweet mountain spring water flowed into the wooden barrel from the bottom of the stone mill. A large iron pot with a diameter of about 1.23 meters is boiling mountain spring water next to it. A woman of about 35 years old squatted on the ground next to the iron pot, adding firewood to the stove with her left hand and constantly pulling the bellows with her right hand. The wind blew into the stove, splashing sparks everywhere. Although the morning in the small village was cold, droplets of sweat had already appeared on the woman's nose. This is a small tofu shop, with an area of about 10 zhang per square meter. There are no signs or plaques at the entrance, but this tofu shop is the most famous in Liujia village, far beyond blacksmiths and carpenters. The reason is that the soybeans selected by this tofu shop for making tofu are full and shiny, and the water for washing, soaking, grinding and boiling soybean milk is mountain spring water. It is the mountain spring water at the foot of Niutou mountain, about 5 miles away from Lu's village. And the amount of water used to make tofu once is about 1,500 liters. If you use a unicycle to push water, it will take a full 30 trips, and if you switch to a load, it will take 60 loads. The time spent on fetching water every day is at least 1.5 hours. The most crucial thing is that this tofu shop lasts 365 days a year. Every day, whether it's windy, rainy, or snowy, it insists on making tofu with sweet mountain spring water. So the tofu made is smooth, tender, and sweet, with a faint bean aroma. Even without any seasoning, you can eat 2 large pieces in an empty mouth. If paired with green onions and a little soy sauce, it will be a delicious dish on earth. So much so that villagers from nearby Zhaozhuang and Li village often come to this tofu shop to buy. So the nearby villagers affectionately call this owner Lu Tofu Craftsman, and their true name has long been forgotten. Subsequently, Lu Dojiang's wife was known as Lu Sao. Chang Zi, get up quickly and carry some firewood, there's not enough firewood. Lu Sao shouted into the room. On the earthen Kong, a 12 or 3-year-old boy quickly got up and shouted, "Here, here," rushing towards the firewood room, unlike other children who cling to the Kong without moving. Since he became sensible, Lu Chang often got up early to help his parents with what he could do. With a loud bang, Lu Chang kicked open the door with a large bundle of firewood in his arms. "Mom, here's the firewood for you. You're still a child with hair on your head. Does your foot hurt?" Although Lu's sister Law was blaming Lu Chang, her eyes were filled with pity. Lu's sister Law picked up the firewood and added a few more pieces to the stove. The flames quickly ignited, and the water in the big iron pot rolled over. The water is boiling, and Changzi helps your father pour the ground soybean milk into the pot. "Put it down, you're still young and can't lift it," a big hand touched Lu Chang's head. "In another 3 or 5 years, that's enough," Lu Tofu Maker said, carrying a wooden bucket to the iron pot and pouring it in. Lu Chang looked at his father's bulging muscles while carrying the bucket, full of envy, and then at his own slender arms, wondering when he could be like his father. Mrs. Lu picked up a towel and wiped the sweat on Lu's forehead. She said sadly, "His father, let's have a rest for more than 2 hours. After the whole pot of soybean milk is boiled, it can only be made into 2 plates of tofu. Each plate can be cut into 90.980.1 pieces of tofu. Because it is relatively famous, the 162 pieces of tofu can be sold at home without going around the streets." When Lu Tofu Maker finished making tofu, it was already dawn. Lu Tofu Maker hurriedly finished breakfast and rushed to Aunt San's house. Today, Aunt San's house is building a new house, and Lu Tofu Maker is going to help. "Mother, I went to school." Lu Chang drank all the soybean milk in his bowl, grabbed the bookcase on the Kong and ran out. "Be careful, listen to the teacher, come back early for lunch, don't fight with anyone." Lu's sister Law instructed. At this point, Lu Chang had already run away, like the wind in a happy little bird. Although Lu Chang's family was not very wealthy, Lu Dojiang and Lu Sa insisted that Lu Chang go to the school in the village to learn how to read and write with the teacher. The teacher is an old scholar surnamed Guo. 3 years ago, the village chief and a few others went out to work and were rescued on their way back. They said they were robbed by mountain bandits, and their wife and children died. They fainted due to serious injuries, but instead saved their lives. After recovering from their injuries, they stayed in Liujia village, the only person with a foreign surname. Therefore, they set up a school in a dilapidated temple at the end of the village. When teaching, Lu Chang and other students often shake their heads 3 times a day, and they all call him Mr. Donghua, from behind. The school was not named either, but Mr. Donghua used a brush to write the word school on a wooden board. He hung it on a crooked willow tree at the entrance of the temple with a hemp oil rope, and next to it was an iron block. With a hammer, he tapped "dang dang" to indicate the start and end of class. There are only 8 or 9 children in the school, all boys ranging from 8 to 15 years old. After 3 years of learning, Lu Chang has known more than 1,000 words. Among these children, he is the best at learning and also the most hardworking. No matter what kind of homework his teacher leaves, Lu Chang can complete it on time. Therefore, Lu Chang's palm has never been beaten by his teacher, but he is also the most mischievous one. Sometimes he grabs a toad and puts it on Mr. Donghua's seat, which startles him. However, the teacher is not angry and just uses a ruler to point at Lu Chang, indicating his preference for Lu Chang. If other students were so reckless, their hands would definitely be swollen from the beating. Today we are talking about the highest goodness is like water. Water is good at benefiting all things without striving for fame and fortune. This is a sentence from Laozi. It is said that the highest level of good deeds are like the character of water, benefiting all things without striving for fame and fortune. Therefore, the person with the highest goodness should be like water. They should benefit all things, nourish all things, but not strive for superiority with all things. This is the most humble virtue, the noble character of being humble like a valley, and selfless dedication. You should remember to do good deeds at all times and every day, just like the spring water of Niutou mountain, which never stops all year round. Mr. Donghua said on the podium. The previous one changed his gentle and elegant state and loudly spoke to the sparse students below, while in the eyes of the students, Mr. Donghua's not tall figure became majestic. What's wrong with Mr. Gua? Lu Chang was startled and looked at the old man in front of him in confusion. Chang Zaij, your father has fallen and injured. At this moment, the voice of Lu Ying from San Auntie's house came from outside the school. Lu Ying is a little girl from San Auntie's family, 2 years younger than Lu Chang. With the sound, a thin figure appeared at the door. What? Lu Chang was taken aback for a moment, then jumped up and ran, not even having time to pick up a book. When Lu Chang ran home, Lu Tofu Craftsman was already lying in bed. It turned out that while helping his third aunt build a house, he fell off the house and injured his waist. The village doctor has already come to see it and there is nothing serious. It will be fine after a few days of rest. Seeing that his father in bed was doing nothing, Lu Chang took a deep breath and felt relieved. Seeing his mother drugging his father according to the doctor's instructions, Lu Chang quickly went up to help. You don't need to be here, you go and watch the medicine jar, watch the ignition, don't stay up late. Lu's sister-in-law drove Lu Chang away, rubbing and kneading her husband with heartache. It's okay, it'll be fine in a few days, don't worry, said Lu tofu maker. Then don't make tofu tomorrow morning and take a break for 2 days. No, the beans are already soaked. Not making tofu is not worth it. This little injury is nothing. The next day, due to his father's waist injury, Lu Chang got up early to help his father with everything. Ah! A scream came from the tofu workshop, causing Lu Chang to throw down the firewood in his hand and run over. Half of his father's body was already lying in the hot pot. Dad, what's wrong with you? Lu Chang rushed forward and tugged hard at the other arm of Lu tofu maker. His dad, don't scare me. At this moment, Lu's sister-in-law also rushed forward and pulled Lu tofu maker up with Lu Chang. At this point, Lu tofu maker was already pale and speechless. Lu's sister-in-law quickly took off Lu's tofu maker's shirt, and as a result, her back and one right arm were scalded and flesh peeled off together. Ah! Lu tofu master let out a scream and fainted. Blood seeped out from the wound and dripped onto the ground. Ah! Lu's sister-in-law suddenly froze in fear. What should we do? What should we do? Mom, please keep an eye on Dad, I'll go find the doctor. Lu Chang said and quickly rushed out of the door, running away. When Lu Chang pulled the doctor back, the tofu maker had already woken up leisurely, his face still pale and devoid of blood. The doctor quickly applied hemostatic powder to the wound and carefully examined the other areas that had been scalded before shaking his head slowly. Doctor, how is the child's father? Lu's sister-in-law asked urgently. The tofu maker scalded it very seriously. Generally speaking, burns and scalds are difficult to recover, muscle damage is more severe, and the wound is not easy to heal. It takes a longer time to recover, said the doctor slowly. What should we do, doctor? We must save the child's father. Upon hearing the doctor's words, Lu Sa's tears immediately flowed down and she begged the doctor at a loss. I'll do my best, the doctor looked at the anxious women in front of him and felt a sense of compassion. Unless what? Lu Chang took a step forward and grabbed the doctor's sleeve, asking. Unless you use the subcutaneous oil of golden-eyed blue-eyed clam to boil it into oil and apply it to the burned area, this oil can accelerate skin healing and relieve pain. Unfortunately, I don't have it in my hands, not even in nearby villages. It's only available in Niutou County, which is 200 miles away from here. The most important thing is that this oil is very expensive, and 1 or 2 gold is needed. Ah! Lu's sister-in-law and Lu Chang immediately looked dumbfounded, 1 or 2 gold. The family's annual income is only a little over 10 taels of silver, and 1 or 2 gold coins need to be worked for 10 years to make up for it. Why is it so expensive? Lu Chang asked in confusion. The doctor glanced at Lu Chang and explained, is it expensive? There is still a price and no market, and it is difficult to buy with money. This is because the blue-eyed golden-eyed clam only lives on Niutou Mountain, and it is only on the right peak of Niutou Mountain, where the cliffs are extremely dangerous. If 10 people go up, 1 or 2 will be good. Sometimes, if there are about 10 people, none of them can come back. I heard that there are monsters around the peak, so this blue-eyed golden-eyed clam is scarce. The oil for burns is even rarer. Don't think about these things, let's take good care of the tofu maker. That's because you have money. Everyone can afford it, said the doctor, turning around and adding some burn ointment to Lu tofu. He carried a medicine box on his back and left with a sigh of relief. At this moment, the sky was already bright, and the distant Niutou mountain was faintly visible, surrounded by layers of mist. Niutou Mountain. Dad, you have always taken care of me and my mother, now it's my turn. Lu Chang waved his small fist and thought to himself. Mom, take care of Dad first. I'll go to school to take a leave. Okay, go back quickly. Come back and have some food, Lu's sister.in.law responded, but she didn't see Lu Chang run to the firewood room and get a firewood knife before running out. Chapter 2. Niutou Mountain. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 3. Learning Medicine. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. Strange Highlights. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 5. Cave. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 6. Luck. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 7. Seizing and Abandoning. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 8. Storage Bags. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 9. Magic. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 10. Revenge. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The source has no content or has errors.